Good morning, everybody. This is Stephen Pugh of the Home Bible College. It is January the 23rd, and today's reading begins in Exodus chapter 6. We have the continuation of the conversation of the Lord with Moses, and then we have another genealogy like we have in Genesis, except this time it's all about the family of Moses and Aaron. Then Moses goes in to speak to Pharaoh again, and on refusal of God's demands, the judgments of God on Egypt begin. But first the Lord tells Moses that because Pharaoh has refused to obey the Lord, he and the children of Israel will see the mighty power of God in bringing the children of Israel out of Egypt. The Lord tells Israel all that he intends to do. Then Moses told Israel that what the Lord had said, that they would hear him but they would not hear him because of the terrible trouble that they were in. So again Moses goes in to demand the release of Israel. Next we have an interesting passage explaining the family tree of Moses and Aaron's descendants. When Moses is told to go to Pharaoh, he says, I am unfit for this task. But the Lord encouraged him, saying, you will be a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron will be like a prophet to him. You are to tell Aaron, you are to tell Pharaoh all that I say, but I will make him stubborn, and I will show signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. Signs are miraculous events that have a spiritual significance. Wonders are also miraculous events, but they cause people to be amazed and dumbfounded. Moses was 40 years old. Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 at this time. I'll just make a correction there. They went in to speak to Pharaoh, and they caused their rod to become a snake. The magicians of Egypt did exactly the same, except that Aaron's snake ate all the snakes of the magicians. The first plague was that when Pharaoh went down to wash in the Nile, Moses caused it to become blood. All the fish died, and the Egyptians had no water to drink or to wash. The Nile stank. All stored water became blood as well, and this plague lasted for 7 whole days. Then Moses went back to demand the release of Israel, and on refusal the whole land became full of frogs. Eventually Pharaoh asked for the frogs to be taken away, so Moses promised that they would leave, and they did. However, Pharaoh had changed his mind again, so therefore the Lord sent lice. There were lice in men and beasts throughout all Egypt, and when the magicians saw this, they said, this is the finger of God. However, Pharaoh hardened his resolve. The next day, when Pharaoh came to wash, Moses demanded the release of Israel, and Pharaoh refused. So Moses brought swarms of flies into the whole land of Egypt. Where the children of Israel lived, in the land of Goshen, there were no flies. The Lord divided Egypt from the children of Israel. At this plague, Pharaoh relented and promised to let the people sacrifice to their God. But Moses said, no, we cannot sacrifice in Egypt. We must go into the wilderness. Pharaoh promised to let them go if Moses asked the Lord to take away the flies. But again he hardened his heart and refused to obey the Lord, the word of the Lord. With each of the plagues, there was a growing intensity. Now, there's lots of things that can be said about this passage. Just want to bring a few things to your attention. You'll notice that at the very beginning, the Lord reiterates the covenant that he has with the children of Israel in verse 6. Wherefore say unto the children of Israel, I am the Lord. I will bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. I will rid them out of out of their bondage. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great judgments, and I will take you for me for a people, and I will be to you a God, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God, which bring you out from under the burdens of the Egyptians. And then he says, I will bring you into the land concerning which I did swear to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I will give it to you for a heritage. I am the Lord. It's very interesting that when they came out of the land of Egypt, Moses was 80 years of old, and Aaron was 83. You see, Moses was not the oldest in the family, he was the second. He possibly could have been the third. I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure whether Miriam was older than Aaron or not. I'm not sure about that. And so the plagues begin. The magicians, you'll notice, copied the miracle of the turning of the staff into a snake. However, verse 12, Aaron's rods swallowed up their rods. So there was a sort of a trumping of the power of the Lord. And then in verse 19, the Lord says unto Moses, say unto Aaron, take thy rod and stretch out thy hand upon the waters of Egypt, upon the streams and upon the rivers, and upon the ponds and upon the pools of water, and they became blood, that there may be blood throughout all the land of Egypt, both in vessels of wood and in vessels of stone. And so therefore there was this was not just blood in the Nile, this was blood in pools of water, and this was blood even in jars of water that were standing upon the shelf. This was blood in the whole of the land of Egypt that was completely pervasive. It wasn't just in the river, it was in the whole of the land. Absolutely amazing. However, the Lord did allow the children of Israel to and Pharaoh to be delivered from the blood. But then the next curse was frogs, and frogs came up upon the land of Egypt, and these were extremely troublesome. They were in the bed chambers, they were in the bed, they were in the house of the servants, in the people, in the ovens, in the kneading troughs. The frogs got into everything, and so Pharaoh pleads for the frog to be taken away. When the frogs eventually died, it says they gathered them together, verse 14, into heaps, and the land stank. You can imagine, can't you, the rotting flesh of frogs in vast heaps. Amazing, really. The next thing is Pharaoh hardened his heart, and the Lord sent lice. Now the lice it came from the dust of the earth, and it became lice in man and in beast, and it was in all the land of Egypt. Now the magicians, they did so with their enchantments to bring forth lice, and they found that they couldn't do it. And so the magicians said to Pharaoh, this is the finger of God. This is God. Is God doing this? But Pharaoh's heart was hardened. He did not listen. And the Lord said unto Moses, rise up in the morning, stand before Pharaoh when he comes forth to the water, and say unto him, thus saith the Lord, let my people go, that they may serve me, else if thou wilt not let my people go, I will send swarms of flies upon thee. And it says that the flies would be upon the houses, and upon the Egyptians will be full of swarms of flies on the ground. But he says, I will sever in that day the land of Goshen, in which my people dwell, that no swarms of flies shall be there, to the end that thou mayest know that I am the Lord in the midst of the earth. I will put a division between my people and thy people tomorrow, shall this sign be. Now this was a remarkable sign for lots of ways. First of all, it wasn't just swarms of flies in the whole of the land of Egypt. It was the fact that in the land of Goshen there wasn't a single fly. That's quite absolutely outstanding. It says the whole land was corrupted by reason of the swarms of flies. And so Pharaoh calls for Moses and says, go and sacrifice to your God in the land. And Moses said, no, we're not going to sacrifice to the Lord here. We're going to sacrifice in the wilderness, you see. Very interesting. When the flies went away, I want you to notice something. Verse 31, the Lord did according to the word of Moses, and he removed the swarms of flies from Pharaoh and from his servants and from his people. There remained not one. But Pharaoh hardened his heart this time also. Notice that. There was a time in the land of Egypt in which there wasn't one fly. Not a single one. Now, the idea that there's not one fly in the whole of a land is quite outstanding. But the Lord says that there wasn't even one fly in the whole of the land. You know, some of these plagues are absolutely outstanding. So outstanding that it's quite incredible to think about them. Well, there we are. Now, my password for today was in verse 23. It's what I mentioned before. He says, and I will put a division between my people and thy people. Tomorrow shall this sign be. You see, the Lord was bringing plagues only upon Egypt, not upon the children of Israel. Amazing. Well, there we are. Look forward to speak to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye for now.